Whether you're fascinated by snakes or find them terrifying, there are certain species you'll definitely want to avoid, for the sake of your own survival. Some snakes truly live up to their deadly reputation, so let's play it safe and steer clear of some of nature's most dangerous predators. From the world's largest snake to a venomous snake that swims the seas, here are the 20 snakes you should run away from. Number 20. King Cobra. All flee the king. Yeah, I know that's not the phrase, but it really should be when it comes to the king cobra. This is one of the most iconic and easily recognizable snakes in the world, not to mention the world's longest venomous snake. When we're talking about venomous snakes, the world's most label is usually a good sign that you should run away from it. The king cobra has an average length of between 10.5 to 13 feet, often reaching a maximum length of around 19 feet. Most of the time, you'll find the king cobra preying on other snakes, including king cobras. You'll rarely find one of these snakes eating another kind of animal, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't run from it. The king cobra's venom is notoriously full of deadly toxins, some of which have severe cardiotoxic effects. With each bite, it can deliver up to 420 milligrams of venom. That's not good, guys. If you're someone whose brain is working to full capacity, you'll quickly see that this is not the kind of snake you want to get close to. In fact, you should be going out of your way to avoid encountering them whatsoever. Go and get a hamster or something. Number 19. Coral reef snakes. Be honest, how many of you tend to hang around coral reefs? I'm going to take a wild guess and say fewer than 200 to 300 of you. But if you are one of those 200 to 300, pay attention, my underwater friends. I could be about to save your life. Coral reef snakes are no joke. Most of this subfamily of snakes are venomous, with just one being an exception. However, all of them share some commonalities. They're adapted to a fully aquatic life, meaning they can't survive for even a second on land. So bear that in mind when you have to escape, because you will have to escape. These snakes have some of the most potent venoms of any on Earth, and their temperaments vary. While some may be content to just ignore you and get on with their lives, others, well, let's just say every day is a Monday for some of them. Nobody sets out to get bitten by a snake, and if they do, well, let's be honest, they probably deserve it. But if you get bitten by a coral reef snake, you're going to experience more pain than usual. So take my advice, stay at home and watch Finding Nemo. No snake, no steak. That rhyme's gonna need a little bit of work. Number 18. Russell's Viper. So we've covered that all vipers are bad. Russell's Viper is no different. This snake is native to the Indian subcontinent, and it once again proves that we should pretty much constantly be running away from snakes. You know, just in general, always run from a snake. Russell's Viper was first described in 1797 by George Shaw and Frederick Polydor Notter, and was named after a guy called Patrick Russell. You almost definitely don't know who Russell is, but he wrote about Russell's Viper in his 1796 work An Account of Indian Serpents, earning him the luxury of having a potentially deadly snake named after him. We're not going to cover the questionable things that Russell did to test how venomous that snake was, but just trust me, you would not particularly like him. The Russell's Viper is a member of the Big Four, that collection of Indian snakes responsible for causing most snake bites and deaths. I mean, when you think about it, we probably could have just started off with the Big Four reveal, but where's the fun in that? Any animal considered one of the Big Four should be avoided at all costs, but if you're still alive, you're doing a pretty good job already. Number 17. Eastern brown snake. One of the difficulties of talking about snakes is deciding whether you're going to refer to them by their official name or their common name. In the case of the eastern brown snake, that problem is pretty easy to solve because the common name is unbelievably boring. May I introduce you to the common brown snake? We're going with the eastern brown snake. This snake species is native to eastern and central Australia and southern New Guinea, and it's, you guessed it, highly venomous. First described in 1854, the fully grown eastern brown snake can grow up to 7 feet long, and it's found in pretty much every habitat except for the dense forest. In fact, it's becoming more and more common in rural and farmland-type environments. That's all thanks to the high numbers of their ideal prey, the house mouse. Just to clarify, that's not the House of Mouse. As far as I know, Mickey Mouse is still alive. The eastern brown snake is considered the world's second most venomous land snake, and its toxins are brutal. A single bite can lead to internal bleeding, cardiovascular collapse, and even full cardiac arrest. It's not a fun time. Just think of how those poor house mice feel. Number 16. Green Anaconda. What better way to continue a list of terrifying nightmare snakes than with the world's largest snake, and also one that's had a whole horror movie about it? If neither of those things is enough to make you run in the opposite direction, you should probably run into a therapist's office instead. The green anaconda is not just South America's most giant snake, it is the world's largest, pound for pound. There isn't a snake alive that is bigger. Sure, maybe its cousin the reticulated python may be able to get a little longer, but the thickness of the anaconda makes it almost twice as heavy. And unless the reticulated python can hide some weights in its non-existent pockets, it's hard to imagine that snake will ever be able to match up to the record set by the anaconda. The anaconda itself can grow to over 29 feet long and weigh over 550 pounds. They eat just about everything, from birds to turtles and even jaguars. And if you're thinking that a prey animal could just wait the anaconda out, keep dreaming, my friends. After a big meal, the anaconda can go for weeks or even months without food. So I guess if you see an anaconda, you either need to run or just generally lower yourself into its mouth, whichever one you prefer. Now it's time for today's topic. In a remote, isolated region, residents were left in shock when they witnessed and captured footage of an enormous snake that defied everything they knew about reptiles. This massive serpent, caught on camera slithering over a bridge, seemed far larger than any anaconda or known species. The sheer size of the creature astounded the locals, as it stretched several meters long, dwarfing the people and structures around it. The video footage quickly spread, leaving experts baffled and eager to investigate the origins of this giant snake. While the anaconda has long held the title as the world's largest snake, this sighting hints that there may be others out there, possibly even larger. Some speculate that this could be a mutant snake, a result of environmental factors or genetic anomalies that allowed it to grow to such a terrifying size. This chilling encounter serves as a reminder that even in the age of modern science, there are still creatures lurking in the wild that defy our understanding. Could there be more of these giants hidden deep within untouched jungles, growing in secret and remaining undetected by human eyes for years? Only time will tell. Number 15. Indian Cobra. If I told you that I found a speckled cobra, you'd get excited, right? Because in your head, a speckled cobra is a hilarious-looking snake with geeky glasses. Well, I'm sorry to say that it's nowhere near that funny in reality. I apologize for misleading you with the cute four-eyed snake. The Indian cobra is, you guessed it, a species of snake found in India as well as Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan. In fact, it's one of the most famous. Aside from its deadly venom, the Indian cobra is also widely known for its prominent hood, which it flares out when threatened, often making it the star of snake charming performances. But don't be fooled by the showmanship. When threatened, this snake can strike with alarming speed, delivering a dose of venom that can incapacitate its victim within minutes. Despite this, Indian cobras are generally shy and will often choose to flee unless cornered. The Indian cobra is widely recognized as a member of the Big Four, a group of 4 snake species known to inflict the most snake bites on humans in India. This snake's toxins are known to attack the synaptic gaps of nerves, paralyzing muscles and often leading the victim to suffer respiratory failure or even cardiac arrest. Talk about a bad day. The Indian cobra is one of the most common killers in the Indian wilderness, so if you happen to live in India or are visiting and you see a snake charmer, good lord, walk in the opposite direction. It's really not worth the paralysis. Take it from me. Number 14. The inland taipan. The inland taipan is a snake of many names. The western taipan, the small-scaled snake, the fierce snake, and Danderbilla. That last one is an unofficial name coined by the Aboriginal Australians who encountered it in the wild. If you ask me, it's the best name, so scientists should try harder, you know? The inland taipan is native to semi-arid regions of Central East Australia, but not much is known about it. In fact, for 90 years between 1882 and 1972, scientists knew basically nothing about it. After 2 specimens were found by Australian scientists in the late 1880s, various papers and books were written exploring the unique species in all its glory. Then nothing, until it was eventually rediscovered in 1972. As it turns out, the inland taipan has the most toxic venom of any snake in the world. Yeah, not kidding. According to experiments, the inland taipan has specially adapted venom designed to kill warm-blooded species. Just one bite possesses enough venom to theoretically kill at least 100 fully grown and healthy adult humans. And as if that's not enough, the snake doesn't tend to bite once. It strikes multiple times. Do I need to say anything else? Or are we all in agreement that we want to avoid this thing? Yeah, I thought so. Number 13. Black Mamba. Africa is like Australia, home to an unthinkable number of toxic and deadly animals. But of all the terrifying snakes in Africa, the black mamba is by far the most feared. And for good reason, it's a freaking black mamba. The black mamba is native to sub-Saharan Africa, which is good news. Most of us just won't encounter it. However, let's explore some of these more concerning details. It's the second longest venomous snake after the king cobra, usually measuring longer than 6 feet 7 inches and sometimes growing up to nearly 10 feet long. But mostly, these things are terrifying. According to a survey in South Africa, there were 253 venomous snake bites between 1957 and 1976. 75 of those were confirmed to be black mamba bites. Of those 75, 63 had symptoms of systemic envenomation, with 21 of those dying from their effects. Apparently, the most common victims of black mamba bites are, unsurprisingly, snake handlers and snake enthusiasts. So I guess that's a big lesson to everyone out there. Love 'em all you want, they're still gonna try to kill ya. Maybe it's time to just stop loving living things. It's just not worth the eventual murder. Number 12. Duboy Sea Snake. For those of us who are already afraid of water, adding snakes to the mix is not exactly comforting. The Duboy Sea Snake is a perfect example of why. This snake is venomous. Need I say more? No, but contractually, I'm actually obligated to. The Duboy Sea Snake lives in places like Papua New Guinea and the coastal areas of Australia, which is good news for most of us. The even better news? They tend to live at depths of up to 263 feet, meaning humans may be able to get away with never actually encountering one of them. However, don't let that depth fool you. These snakes are exceptional swimmers and can spend long periods underwater. Their venom contains powerful neurotoxins, which attack the nervous system, causing paralysis and respiratory failure in their prey. What makes it worse is that their bites are often painless at first, meaning victims may not realize they've been bitten until the symptoms kick in. The snakes consume moray eels and other varying species of fish they happen to find on the seafloor, which is yet more good news for us humans. So far, it all seems like smooth sailing for us, but just wait a sec. Let's not forget that the Duboy Sea Snake is a venomous creature. In fact, it's one of the top 3 most venomous snakes in the world, and it's known to bite if it feels provoked. So sure, it's unlikely that most of us will be diving in the depths off the coast of Papua New Guinea, but for those people that do, well, you might want to cover yourself in bubble wrap or something. Number 11. Tiger snake. You take all the terror of a tiger and put it into a snake, and what do you get? Nightmares. The tiger snake doesn't actually have any traits of a tiger, so to speak. It's not like these animals somehow created a hybrid. Now that would be something to run from. Actually, the tiger snake is named that because they're so often banded like a tiger. Usually found in the southern regions of Australia, tiger snakes have been recorded as having accounted for 17% of identified snake bite victims between 2005 and 2015 alone. In fact, of 119 confirmed bites, 4 people died. Some frightening statistics here. The snake's venom contains a high number of potent toxins, with official studies pegging the mortality rate somewhere between 40 and 60%. Of course, those are untreated snake bites, so if you do treat it, well, it's actually probably still a coin toss, but the odds are more in your favor. The tiger snake may not be quite as terrifying as an actual tiger-snake hybrid, but it's not too far off. With a mortality rate that high, I don't think anybody would recommend you actually try to go tiger snake hunting. Just stick to the trees you're used to. I don't know, man. There are no good punch lines for snake hunting. You know, I do have a great one for if we get to paperclip jousting though. Number 10. The Bom Slong. Easily one of the greatest names for any snake in the world, the Bom Slong is not one to be taken lightly. Sure, it belongs to the family Colubridae, and anybody who knows anything about animals knows that they're harmless. Their small venom glands and useless fangs are pretty much pointless, and that's true except for the Bom Slong. This snake is the one exception, the only member of the entire order with highly potent venom, which it delivers through large fangs in the back of its jaw. You see, the Bom Slong is able to open its jaw some 170 degrees when biting, allowing it to get a decent grip to inject that sweet, sweet poison. In this case, the venom is more of a hemotoxin, disabling the coagulation process and leading the victim to die from internal and external bleeding. So that's a fun way to die, right? At this point, if you haven't realized just how dangerous and insane it is to get up close to snakes, well, you may never actually realize that. Just take my word for it. The Bom Slong is the last animal on Earth you want to get close to, except for, all the other snakes on our list today. Maybe stay away from them too. Number 9. Pit vipers. Even the name pit viper sounds like something that belongs to a snake fight club. In fact, they're more terrifying than the name suggests. If we were to give you a simple description of what makes this snake so scary, they're basically a snake version of the Terminator. Here's what I mean by that. The pit viper is recognized by the presence of a heat-seeking pit organ hidden between the eye and nostril. To give you an idea of what that means, it's basically like a sixth sense, allowing the snakes to locate and track the warm-blooded prey they eat, much like the Terminator, right? These pits are so sensitive that they can detect temperature changes of just 0.003 degrees Fahrenheit, allowing them to strike their prey with deadly precision, even in complete darkness. Some species of pit vipers, like the Falance, are responsible for the majority of snakebite fatalities in their native regions. Their venom is a mix of hemotoxins and neurotoxins, which destroy tissues and can cause severe internal bleeding. And don't be fooled by their sluggish movements. They can lunge with lightning speed when provoked. Thankfully, these snakes prefer to eat small animals, but not always. If these snakes are somehow deprived of their senses, they'll identify any creature less than 0.36 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than the environment, and they will attack. That's bad news for humans. And what's worse, they're surprisingly accurate when they do strike, even without the need for sight or smell. So, if you ever happen to find yourself lost in Eurasia or the Americas and you're in viper country, you might want to start running early because, well, they're probably already on the hunt for you. Number 8. Flying snake. Monty Python's flying snake is back in town. Friends. Okay, maybe not, but the idea of a flying snake is right up there with the sea snake as an animal I never, ever want to see. But we're not here to talk about whether or not they can fly. We're here to talk about the real reason you want to get away from them, their venom. The flying snake is found throughout Southeast Asia, but it's perhaps one of the lesser considered venomous species. According to an official study, the snake's venom is only really dangerous to their small prey, which is good news, right? However, it's not like humans are completely out of the woods. As it turns out, there have been a few confirmed cases of medically significant bites from the flying snake. So, while we may not be at any serious risk of danger, it's still not a snake you want to play around with. Some people, of course, will ignore that warning and, do it anyway. But hey, more power to them. It hasn't happened yet, but it's only a matter of time before a snake bites a human and turns them into a superpowered half-man, half-snake hybrid. And on that day, we'll be begging for climate change to just end us. Number 7. Gaboon Viper. In the rainforests and savannas of Africa, you'll find all manner of horrific, probably life-threatening animals. Snakes, lions, tigers, but the Gaboon Viper, well, they're not like any other life-threatening animal you'll encounter in the wild because they're unaggressive and yet dangerous. Explain that one. The Gaboon Viper has the longest fangs of any venomous snake, measuring up to 2 inches in length. In fact, these fangs are so long that they can penetrate deeply into the flesh, injecting a massive dose of venom. Despite their docile nature, if threatened or stepped on, these vipers can strike quickly, delivering a venom that contains a cocktail of toxins, including hemotoxins that destroy blood cells and tissues. Its camouflage also makes it nearly impossible to spot in the leaf litter, meaning you could be right next to one and not even know it until it's too late. They also have the second highest venom yield of any snake, coming in second to the king cobra. So, yeah, while they may be unaggressive and probably have no intentions of hurting you, that doesn't mean they won't. If you're unfortunate enough to accidentally step on one, you should expect to get a pretty intense bite. And if you do get bitten, you should probably absolutely treat that as a serious medical emergency because it is, my friends, you are staring death in the face. If antivenom is not administered quickly after the initial bite, you're going to suffer pretty badly. That's a nice way of saying you're probably going to die. Because, hey, being bitten by a venomous snake isn't as warm and charming as cartoons make it sound. I'm sorry to be the one to reveal that to you. Number 6. Mojave Rattlesnake. The Mojave Desert is famously one of the most inhospitable places in the world, but not to every living animal. The Mojave Rattlesnake, for instance, has no problem existing in this kind of unforgiving landscape. The rest of us, we're just trying to avoid meeting the Mojave Rattlesnake. This species of snake is found around the deserts of the southwestern United States and central Mexico. It's maybe best recognized for its intense and potent venom, widely considered to be one of the world's most potent rattlesnake venoms. In fact, the most common subspecies of the Mojave rattlesnake has a venom considered to be one of the most deadly of any rattlesnake. The good news? Chances for survival are pretty good, assuming that medical treatment is sought out immediately after the bite. If that's not the case, well, you better start praying for a miracle. Ironically, the most common cause of Mojave rattlesnake bites comes from snakes that are already dead. People find the snake corpse, inspect it up close, accidentally prick themselves on the fangs, and then suffer the consequences. Imagine dying because you got bitten by a dead snake. That's one of those things you really hope nobody else hears about. Number 5. Rattlesnake. We just had to feature this iconic snake, didn't we? If you asked people around the world to name a few snakes, it's safe to bet that the rattlesnake would be on that list somehow. But just how dangerous is it, and how scared should we be? Well, the answer is yes. Biologists have long debated how exactly snakes are able to detect sound, with some suggesting it's all about vibrations and others believing that they do, in fact, have ears. All this is to say that somehow the rattlesnake can and will hear you, which means you can and will get bitten. The good news? Rattlesnake bites are rarely fatal. The bad news? Most rattlesnake bites contain enough venom to induce internal bleeding. So, it really depends on how you look at it. How important is it to you that you don't bleed internally? Luckily for us, the rattlesnake comes with a unique system to ward off potential predators, so the likelihood of you being attacked without warning is pretty low. Unless you're an idiot or you prefer to get all of your sounds through vibrations, in which case, well, you better prepare for a lifetime of being bitten, hit, and otherwise blindsided. May the odds ever be in your favor. Number 4. The coastal taipan. We've covered the dangers of the inland taipan. What about the coastal taipan? Well, it turns out you should probably be pretty concerned about them too. These snakes are among the most dangerous in the world, And if you've learned anything from this video, it's that you want to be aware of the dangerous snakes around you. Unlike some other venomous snakes, the coastal taipan is highly aggressive when threatened, and it strikes with incredible speed and precision. Its venom can cause severe neurotoxic effects, leading to paralysis or even death if not treated immediately. What makes it even scarier is that this snake doesn't just bite once. It's known to deliver multiple bites in rapid succession. This snake's venom can kill an adult human in less than 45 minutes if left untreated, making it one of the deadliest creatures in Australia. This species is native to the coastal areas of northern and eastern Australia and New Guinea, but that's not why you should be concerned. Not everything that comes out of Australia should be something to fear, just, most things. In this case, you should really be worried about the fact that this species is the third most venomous land snake in the world. That's not a fun creature to encounter in the wild. I think we can all agree on that one. The coastal taipan, much like its inland sibling, is not the kind of animal you want to sit and have a gentle lunch with. It's the kind of snake you should be sprinting away from. You should be sprinting like you're competing for gold in the Olympics, my friends. Take it from me. Number 3. Fer-de-lance. The Bothrops asper, the Quattroneres, the fer-de-lance. What do these snakes have in common? They're all the same snake with varying levels of pretentiousness. No matter what you call it, this snake is a highly venomous pit viper you don't want to mess with. Just like all highly venomous pit vipers, the fer-de-lance can be found everywhere from southern Mexico to northern South America, usually in lowland habitats. That's code for places humans like to go. Are you starting to understand why this thing is so dangerous? Because this snake likes to make homes right next to humans, and because it's so defensive, the fer-de-lance is widely recognized as being more dangerous to people than other snakes. In fact, this species is the main cause of snake bites in its natural habitats, and in some places, it's the most dangerous snake. In Costa Rica alone, the fer-de-lance is responsible for 46% of all bites and 30% of all hospitalized cases. Now, what did I say? That's what you get when you let a highly venomous snake loose right next to human habitations. Anybody that's ever seen a monster movie knows. Hungry snake comes to town, and the townsfolk become entrees. It's like the international house of self-absorbed humans. Number 2. Eiscarinatus. It might not have the most easily pronounceable name, but the Eiscarinatus is definitely the kind of snake you'll want to remember, if only so that you know not to adopt it by accident. And yes, some people accidentally adopt snakes. Not a day goes by that I don't regret it. The Eiscarinatus is a viper species found throughout the Middle East and Central Asia, though it's mostly found in the Indian subcontinent, because of course, this snake is a member of the Big Four. In fact, it's the smallest member of the Big Four. The size of the snake can vary anywhere between 15 and 31 inches in total length, but they generally don't grow much longer than 24 inches. Even that feels a little too long in my opinion, but that's probably why I wasn't tasked with creating the world. Given that I had no hand in creating the world as we know it, all I can really do is reiterate the dangers of the Eiscarinatus. The Big Four is a collection of snakes known for their high murder rates. Stay the hell away from them, and if you can't, you might want to get running. The sooner, the better. If you're not on the Indian subcontinent, maybe start running anyway. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Number 1. Common death adder. Okay, while the name may make it sound like it's just another snake, it's very much not. The common death adder is a species of snake originating in Australia. You know, that land where every animal can kill you and every white guy is a Hemsworth. Yep, that one. Today, however, the death adder can be found all over the world, which is fun for us. Since the snake has the longest fangs of any Australian snake, and, it has the word death in its name, when was the last time you heard of a cute and cuddly death creature? I rest my case. While the species exists worldwide, an ongoing Australian cane toad invasion continues to threaten their population numbers. So just think of it like this. The cane toad threatens the death adder threatens us, and we threaten us. Man, humans are not popular. Again, like any animal with the word death in its name, you really don't want to encounter one of these things. Well, not unless you're prepared to fight the death. And when you take on a famous venomous snake, well, it's probably not going to work out too well for you. Just a little spoiler warning there. Which snake freaks you out the most? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to check out some of our other awesome content popping up on your screen right now. See you next time.